Welcome to Speakernomics, the official podcast of the National Speakers Association, created and hosted by speakers for speakers. As we count down to the new year, we're celebrating our top 10 episodes of 2025, packed with powerful insights to help you become a better speaker and build a better business. Before we dive in, here's a quick announcement. Speakernomics is getting a glow up. Launching in January 2026, we're coming back with a fresh format, dynamic new hosts, and a stellar lineup of subject matter experts. Click the link below to subscribe and download wherever you listen to podcasts. The stage is set. Let's tune in. Here we are, the top 5 Speakernomics episodes for 2025. At number 5, we're tuning into a compilation episode and fee integrity in speaking. Tips for preserving value without losing opportunities.
What does fee integrity mean to you? It's a phrase you've likely heard for many years. A speaker has a fee, and let's say that's X, and that speaker won't leave the house unless it's for X. But time has changed, and so much has to be looked at in today's marketplace rather than just the fee someone gets on stage for traditional speech. Then what is the discussion you should have with bureaus and meeting planners and agents when they possibly want to hire you and they say, what is your fee? How do you maintain integrity to that fee that makes you great to work with so that they want to hire you? Let's dive in then with different perspectives from speakers, bureaus, coaches, agents, and much more, and those that have seen this in the industry over and over again. Hopefully some of the insights will help you take a new look at what fee integrity means to both buyers and sellers. And let me remind you too that if you're not following their voices on the audio version, then make sure to check out NSA's YouTube channel to watch the video version of the show there. The dozen experts that we're showcasing today in order of appearance include certified speaking professional, consultant, and social media expert Corey Perlman, CSP and Hall of Famer Mary Kelly, the sales hunter and CSP Mark Hunter, president and co-founder of speaker agency Campus Speak, David Stolman, CSP Michelle McCullough, booking agent Nona Prather, speaker and negotiation expert Fatinia Konomopoulos, CSP, CPAE, and Cavett recipient Scott McCain, CSP and Hall of Famer Bill Cates, CSP and Hall of Famer Ross Bernstein, C Agency Speaker Manager and author of Become a Bookable Speaker, Krista Haberstock. And we close out with consultant and the Book More Business, Make More Money Speaking, author Lois Kramer. And before we jump in, make sure to go to speakernomics.com. That's where you can find the tips, insights, and knowledge to help you become a better speaker, build a better business, and get paid to speak. Now, let's learn from some special people, and then I'll see you on the other side with some takeaways. Corey, how do you look at fee integrity today in today's speaking market?
So I'm going to tell you my answer, and I'm also going to tell you why I think it's very careful the way you listen to that answer. My answer is you have fee integrity until you don't, which is going to be a similar answer that you'll hear quite a bit. And the reason I think it's super careful, you have to be super careful on how you receive that answer is because it depends on your business. No speaker should ever listen to the advice of another speaker until they understand their business. For example, I own an agency. So when I go out and speak, there's opportunity for me to have 5, 6 figures of business in that room way beyond speaking. So if I need to lower my fee to make that happen, then it makes sense for me. Whereas if it's a keynote speaker and their pure revenue model is keynoting, then fee integrity should be paramount for them. And that makes sense for them. So of course, for me, fee integrity can move around quite a bit depending upon who's in the room. So that's my answer, Kenneth. But most importantly for those listening, the key to that question is be careful who you're listening to and figure out what your business model is for you to understand how to answer that question.
Mary, in today's marketplace, for you as a speaker, as a highly successful speaker, how do you look at fee integrity with all the competition in this market?
So first off, everyone is willing to negotiate a little bit on the fee, but it's what you're willing to give up when you negotiate for the fee. And it's what the client needs, what they want, and what the perceived value is. So if somebody says, Mary, we absolutely adore you, we want everything you have, we just don't have your fee. I say, okay, the fee is usually not the reason that stops us from moving forward. So this is what my fee normally is, but it includes all of these things. So some of these things you may not need. So let's just start taking things away until we get down to a number that works for you. But I'm consistent on this. And this is where a lot of people are not. And that's where I think they get in trouble. So somebody says, well, wait a second, I called a bureau about you and they quoted this much. And I said, yes, but did you ask them if you could take away some of the things I normally provide? And they said, oh no, we didn't do that. I said, well, they have the ability to also do that. So I'm consistent when we do that. And we're very clear on how, what our fee looks like. And then if they really truly don't have the fee, we say something like, hey, would a virtual be a better option? Or, maybe you'd like a recorded program, or maybe you'd like me to live stream it. I mean, there's other things we can do because some people don't have that fee. However, I also tell people I discount for associations, military and veterans groups, and for really good fundraisers. If you've got a fundraiser and that's going to get dogs and cats out of shelters, I'm there. I don't care what the fee is. So there's certain things that we all care about. And from a meeting planner perspective, sometimes they've got 5 speakers and they've got a certain budget that they've got to figure this out. And I will ask them the question. I was like, what is most important to you? Is it people walking out with results that are going to happen within the next 12 months? Are you trying to increase sales? Are you trying to just motivate people? Are you trying to get people to write a check? What do you want the outcome to be? And a lot of times they don't know, because sometimes, let's face it, they can be looking at me and they can be looking at somebody who's lower priced than I am. And I'll say, that person at that lower fee, they're going to do a great job for you. For what you want, this is you can get that from them. But if you want this, then you probably are going to need to be looking at me. And I'll be real honest with them. And that's one of the things where I think it's important for us to know each other as speakers and be able to each other. And so sometimes they go, Mary, we've got this fee and maybe it's not even close to what I can do. So I'll say, what it sounds like, some of the newer speakers would be perfect for you, and let me help you find one of them. But I stay in touch with them. I go out and I say, well, what about this person? What about this person? I call that person. I say, is this what you do? Like, I really try to help my clients get the best fit for their money. They need to get the best bang for the buck. And I'm an economist. I understand that.
Mark, how do you look at fee integrity today in today's market? There's so many people out there competing for the same gig. A number of pineapples may be different than what somebody else's is, but do you draw that line in the sand, or do you play around with the numbers to get it to work for both of you?
We have to demonstrate fee integrity because it's part of our bigger personal integrity, our professional integrity. Now, does that mean I'll adjust prices? I'll adjust prices, but only because I'm taking something off the table. I don't just reduce the price to reduce the price, but I'll reduce the price by taking something off the table. So when I make a proposal, I'm going to give you my keynote. I'm going to put everything in the package for you, and that's a full fee. Now, if you want that, great. If you don't want that because your fee's too high, that's fine. We can bring that down, but we're always going to take something off the table. Last thing somebody wants to learn is that, hey, they paid, X number of pineapples for you just to find out that their friend hired you for a whole lot less pineapples. I'm sorry. To me, that is not integrity. I don't practice that.
All right, David, when you start thinking about even the college market and how fees have changed, how should speakers be thinking about fee integrity and how they need to price themselves with their clients?
When it comes to fee integrity, I think of a few things in particular. One, in general, I think about the idea of trading value. So in the education market, the budgets are just being decimated. And so there are many more people asking for even more and offering much less. And so thinking about what is your fee and how do you trade value even beyond what might be a dollar value. So maybe it is helping you get more collateral, a new video, because they have the media center on campus and the cameras that can record you with 3 camera shoot and great audio and all those things, and think how much you would pay for that setup and for an audience to be able to get collateral for a great new sizzle reel. So the trading of value is something that you should consider in fee integrity. What I see, though, too often, and especially in the education market where I live most frequently, is a lack of integrity, where a speaker is going to ask, well, what's your budget? What a coincidence! That's my fee, and it reeks of the stereotypical used car salesman lack of integrity that we keep hearing with our clients that come back to us over and over again, that's happening even more and more. And so what I know, the way we approach it, if we find out their budget is more than what our speaker's basic fee is, we look at how we can add value and increase the statement of work and give them more, and the speaker can get more. So adding something in, or a virtual session months later as follow-up, or whatever else it might be that we can add to the statement of work so that the speaker can earn more, but we can maintain the level of integrity in with which we do business. The other part I would say about fee integrity that's interesting is that I see speakers, and this is all over, that they may be at X number, but all of a sudden someone offers them X plus Y. And now that new X plus Y number is their high watermark. And they've gotten that once, and they now re-envision their entire business model around them being not an X number speaker, but an X plus Y number speaker. And that changes the way they view things, but only, from one data point in their business model, they shift their entire business model, or at least the way they see it. And I think internally having that fee integrity is really important in understanding your own numbers and your own market.
Michelle, how do you look at fee integrity today? The market's obviously shifted. We're past the pandemic, and there was a time when a lot of people really started to relook at fee integrity with maintaining that same fee that they do for all their events. How do you look at it?
I look at it that speaking for me begets more speaking, and that the more I speak, the more I speak. And so while I hear of some people, and early on, I was counseled, decide what your fee is and know that you're not going to get out of bed unless you get that fee. And what I have learned over time is that there are some times where it makes sense to speak for less than my fee because the right people are going to be in the room. And there are times where it makes sense to go speak at a local event, even if they can't meet my fee, because it means that I get to sleep in my own bed and I get to be home with my family. Now, I feel like for me, I also, part of fee integrity for me is honoring the commitment that I make to my family, and knowing that I shouldn't be gone just to be gone. I should be gone because I'm building my business. I should be gone because I'm putting food on the table for my family and providing for their needs. And so part of my fee integrity is not just what I'm getting paid, but the cost that it takes me to leave my home. And when I know what that cost is to leave my home, my family, and everything else, then I make different decisions, because it's a two-way street. It's not just the amount I'm putting out into the world, but it's the time as well. And so I came from the world, in fact, my first speaking engagements were speak to sell. I didn't get paid at all. I was just selling product at the back of the room, and that's how I got started professionally speaking. And so to this day, I can also make up a great deal, and sometimes make even more than my typical keynote fee, if I have the ability to sell products or services. So I think it's important for each of us to understand what our values are, not just in money, but in time, and make sure that we're honoring that for all the different roles that we have.
Known as a booking agent, you've seen a lot of things change with speaking fees, and post-pandemic that also affected a lot of it. But where we are today, should a speaker maintain fee integrity? Should they stick to their published speaking fee no matter what, or how should they handle it? What do you see that works best?
Yes, I always say on your information, you should not put your speaker fee, because then whenever you get your booking agent or yourself to come in and negotiate for you, you can do that, and work with what their budget is. But you should be presenting yourself as, if you're a keynoter, you should be 10,000 or above. Like that's the normal average still. Like associations are 5 to 7,500. So you kind of know where their budget is. So you can kind of go in on their top, or a little bit on the top, and maybe negotiate to where their budget is, but don't go too far down. And this is kind of more of my opinion. After the pandemic, a lot of speakers were volunteering or doing free talks because a lot of places, and I understand, they lost their sponsorships during that time, and then they had to build those back up. And there are quite a few, it's a little frustrating. There are quite a few organizations that are still lagging, and they're still trying to get deals from speakers afterwards because they're just, trying to do the best that they can. But I will say in 24, and I know I've already booked some things for 25, I would say the sponsorships and things are getting back into there. There's just still a couple of organizations that are still lagging. But also, my opinion is if we as speakers and booking agents can stick to our guns, then and everyone sticks to their fee or close to their fee and know that they're not doing free speeches, we can all work together and get it back to where it was. But everyone kind of has to be in agreement that we're not, if you're an experienced speaker, don't give away your stuff unless it's a really good high target client audience for you. Because I just feel like it's one of those things, if we do it as a group, then payments will come back. And I've already seen it starting to get more and more because there have been some frustrations with organizations still trying to get free events because of the pandemic that we're coming off of.
Fotini, fee integrity is really tough these days. You see people all over the map, but how should a speaker treat their speaking fee with fee integrity?
So I don't believe in having different prices for different people. I will always quote people, here's my fee. Now, what I will do though is when I know that somebody doesn't have that fee and I still have an interest in serving them, or they don't have that fee and there's some extra value that they can add to the equation, I'll still quote the fee and say, now, you may not have that, but let's have a conversation about how we can add additional value. So whether it's value they provide to me, maybe it is getting some great video out of it. Maybe it's people from my email list. Maybe it's a one-on-one meeting with their organizers or referrals, or there's lots of other cool things that they can do. There's going to be other value too, maybe value I add to it, like this serves my needs. I have some intrinsic reward that comes from serving this group. And I allocate a certain number of gigs a year that I'm going to do for those types of groups, that I will reduce my fees for that. I don't really reduce them. I give them this discount because it's the intrinsic reward discount. And I even when I'm working with them, I talk to them about, well, what can we do to make sure that this doesn't affect my other paid work that allows me to be here with you in the first place? So can we do it on a Monday or a Friday where I'm not usually booked for other types of gigs? Can you do it virtually instead of in person? Are there other ways that we can serve your community where it's not going to impact my calendar that much? So we find ways to do it. I'm still maintaining my integrity by saying this is the fee. And if you have it, then this is what I expect for you to meet. If you don't have it, I would expect you to treat me like you would anybody else that you're inviting in here, or I would expect you to bring some additional value on the table. What can we do to do that? And I can tell you that I've never been disappointed by a group who will fight like hell to get a sponsor to make that fee happen. It just happened again this week. I didn't expect this Black Professionals Association to have funds, but I'm like, you are an ERG, you are a diverse group, you are an underdog that I want to serve because it serves me intrinsically. And they came back and they said, we got the funds from HR, we got the funds from this other sponsor and so on, because our values matched. And so they're bringing value to the table and I'm bringing value to the table. The whole time my fee is intact, but we find ways to make it work because I'm honest with them. I have trust with them and I trust them to treat me the way I would be treating them in the same vein. So when you find those right folks to negotiate with, you can create some really incredible magic still while keeping that fee integrity the whole time. So if someone else were to ask them, hey, what's the fee? They can say, quite honestly, her fee is X dollars. How did you get her there? Well, we provided this value. And I'm fine with them sharing that too, because if someone else is going to provide that same value, then there's more value to go around.
Scott, how should someone consider in today's marketplace their fee, especially when you consider the term fee integrity?
Yeah, I think there has to be fee congruency more than fee integrity. And here's what I mean by that. Fee integrity always applies or implies to me that you're going to charge the same thing every time, no matter who it is. To me, fee congruency is if there's a reason that you can substantially say, this is why I chose to work for this group for that fee, that there's a congruency there. Let me give you an example. Let's say my fee is $3 and I get a call from a group that's got $2. Uh, Fee integrity means I say there's no way. I always get $3 a speech. To me, fee congruency is if they say, oh, and by the way, we're going to be in a resort, we'll pay the travel for you and your wife, and we'll add on a few days. Why wouldn't I do that? Here's another area for us where we always are negotiable. If you're within 30 to 45 days of the meeting, I can be negotiable. If that date is open 30 to 45 days out, why wouldn't I fill that date on my calendar? Now, I'm not going to go from $3 to 25 cents, but I might go from $3 to $2 in that situation as well. I've multiple dates is another one. What's fee integrity? I always get $3. Well, somebody calls and said, well, there was a program I did in New Orleans a while back, and the CEO of the company walked up and he said, gosh, I'd like for our customers to hear that. Could I get a discount if we book 10 days? Well, of course you can. So to me, it is not about, I don't want to say it's not about integrity, because I think we have to have integrity in our business. But I wish the term was fee congruency, because if somebody that pays $3 calls me and says, hey, I heard you got $2 for this other speech for this other group, you undercut us, I can come back and say, oh, but what they did is they flew my wife and me and they put us up in a resort and they did all of this. Or, hey, they paid me $2 for the speech, but they bought 1,000 books. I mean, there are so many things that come into play. It's a negotiation. I got a lot of friends, Shark, in the entertainment business. And this happens all the time as they deal with meeting professionals. Does the date route? Do they have to fly across the country to get there, or does it route with other dates they've got booked? There are so many variables when it comes to that. So meeting professionals are used to dealing with this. We just don't see that side of it very often. So I would encourage you to have fee congruency. That is, to me, what professionals do.
Well, meeting planners know that Scott and Shark both appreciate a Mai Tai and a trip to Hawaii. Integrity goes in the water. So
absolutely.
Bill, how should someone think about fee integrity in today's marketplace with all the changes that are going on with events, with getting videos and all the things that meeting planners and committees promise us, and then things we have to exchange in value and so on?
Yeah, I kind of laugh at that term, actually. I think if you're working with bureaus and more than one bureau is putting you out there in the world, I think then fee stabilization becomes very important. And that if you do negotiate, there has to be a very clear and good reason for that, so they can't be comparing apples to apples. Outside of that world, I don't work with bureaus much at all, a little bit. I don't need them. People put events around, build the event around me, so I don't need to do that. I'll tell you, there are a lot of NSA members that get pretty good fees, and I can tell you right now that they don't always get their fee. There's some will work for anything. And so, it's partly what the market will bear. And, some people say, well, aren't you compromising? Well, maybe. But for me, if I get in front of a group, I have a back end that I can sell. So they maybe pay me a little less for the platform, but I can make it up through my licensing deals and other things like that. So, be careful about what people say. Make sure it works for you. And if it doesn't, then, don't give it any mind.
All right, Ross, you speak 8,000 times a year, including 7 before we even started hitting record today. How should a speaker in today's marketplace consider their fee integrity when there's so many gigs out there and you have a price, which has been typical for a lot of speakers over time, to draw that line in the sand and not go past this amount or that amount?
It's a slippery slope, right? We all have our fee and it's published, so it's out there. But, interesting, during the pandemic, everyone had a virtual fee. Interesting, right? And it's just really, for me, it's about justification. I live I'm on the road 250 days a year. So I have to find ways, it's like Jenga, to fit in. I had a month recently where I had 20 gigs. That doesn't just happen. You have to negotiate each event, and the biggest negotiation is fee. Well, for me, my biggest negotiation is time. Like, I can't be in Vancouver Tuesday, I'm in Orlando, so I need to be able to make this work. So the obvious thing there is trying to be accommodating to their fee so that they can accommodate you. And it's bartering, it's horse trade, right? It's a quid pro quo. Like, if I can do it at this time, if you can, for your fee, if you can put me at this time. But look, there's other fees. I mean, associations, you should say yes to every association. Those are gold mines, right? They don't have big budgets a lot of times. I'm respectful of that. A past client, do you want to pay full price for a house or a car? A friend? Of course not, right? If it's a nonprofit, a charity, a Rotary, a chamber, I do those events. I wear them with a badge of honor, and they lead to full fee gigs. So as long as you can qualify and justify what you're doing, and there's a strategy, certainly you don't want to lower your fee if you're working exclusively with bureaus and so forth. But if you're a hustler and you're doing this, I mean, for me, I'm laser focused on speaking. So I don't have side hustles. I'm not doing podcasts and blogs and vlogs, and I don't have lists and LMS and all this stuff. My marketing is speaking. So I want to speak as much as humanly possible. I love it. I'm very passionate about it. I'm good at it. So I don't like saying no. And I've created a lifestyle business where I live on the road. We travel with my wife, and so I make no bones about it. I mean, if it's a great gig and I want to be a part of it, I want to say yes. Certainly, I want to get my fee and I want to have fee integrity, but that doesn't always happen. They can be mutually exclusive, and you can still be a successful speaker, I believe.
Christy, you work with a lot of successful speakers. When you think about how someone sets their fee, what a lot of people in the old days would have called fee integrity, how should a speaker look at setting their fee when you consider the modern marketplace and different ways to make money versus a lot of the only on stage time they would have had and locked in and drew a line in the sand, if you will, with setting that fee? How should they look at it today?
I think, top line, a speaker's fee can be whatever the speaker wants it to be, and they can negotiate whatever they want for their fees. I want to stay away from the shouldn't. What can be brand damaging is a couple of things. So number one, it'll be brand damaging if your fee does not match what your perceived value is. So that comes from your marketing materials, comes from your video, comes from your website, comes from all the things that you're putting out there, forward facing, your social presence, everything. So your fee should make sense to the person who's looking at you. So they shouldn't say, oh, that's too cheap, or oh, that's too expensive. It should match. Now, there are some speakers that can, of course, demand a higher fee because their brand just calls for it. Like, we were talking about Olympians, gold medal Olympians, there's a higher fee just because they get, more points for being a gold medal Olympian, right? As opposed to someone who has to kind of justify their platform of credibility with longer phrases than gold medal Olympian. So there's kind of an implied higher fee starting point, but I'm bullish about this, that people who demand higher fees have to live up to that with their marketing materials. Their video, their everything should make it easy for the purchaser, like whether that's the buyer of the bureau, I should say, the bureau buyer, or the bureau's buyer being the client, make it really easy to sell it for everyone involved. So that's my number one thing on fees, is that it needs to match your brand. And I would say that, as far as the old fashioned fee integrity word or phrase, it is up to the speaker. But, I just ran across this recently, that a speaker will quote a different fee based on where it comes from and who it comes from. And that will put a bureau, specifically a speaker's bureau, in a tricky situation. It'll put a speaker manager like myself in a tricky situation, because if I get an inquiry direct from, National Association of Lawn Care Professionals, we were talking about, or landscape professionals, whatever it was. And I quote one thing for one of my speakers, but the Speakers Bureau quotes that plus their commission. That makes the Bureau look really bad. And it also makes us look really bad. So for speakers, I would say probably the biggest note on fee integrity is make sure that your fee is commissionable. And for those of you who don't work with bureaus and say that doesn't apply to me, well, why not? Don't cut off your nose to spite your face. If you don't work with bureaus, you always want to. And that's really going to be a big thing for them, is making sure that the fee that they're quoting you at and listing on their website is the same thing that you're quoting clients. You have every right and latitude to negotiate as much as you want to. You can negotiate value, you can put travel in, try and stick as close to the fee as you can. But again, if you've got 0 dates, if it's a July or December date that comes in and there's nothing on the calendar, knock yourself out, speak more to speak more, gain some momentum in some slower months. But also mention to the client, like, this is deeply negotiated. Please don't mention this to anybody. I have it in my contract. There are some people that get really sideways about that, right? But I think as far as fee integrity or anything in the industry, just make for sure that you are taking care of your partners. Your partners are your bureaus. Your partners are your clients. Your partner is your manager. Make sure you're taking care of them and protecting them from anything that might make them look bad or have some egg on their face.
Lois, how should a speaker be thinking about fee integrity today? A lot has changed over the last several years. It continues to evolve with the way speakers should look at their fees, but how do you see it?
This is a fascinating question. And it's one that has been debated a lot, as you know, Shark, you and I both know. I'll tell you my sense of fee integrity. My sense of fee integrity, you have integrity in fees if it's something that it is a fit for your business and it's a smart business decision for you to make. Back when I first started in speaking, there wasn't a whole lot of negotiation going on with fees. Interesting time, especially with bureaus. You never varied from what you asked the bureau to sell you and what you would sell yourself. Big difference in the industry now, though, Shark, is even bureaus are asking speakers to negotiate. And they're doing it in response to the marketplace. So to me, fee integrity, I think you have to have a set fee. When somebody asks you a fee, your answer should never be, what's your budget? Or what do you think would be a good fit for you? You should have a specific fee schedule. I suggest to my clients it be a range. And lots of times that can be X amount of dollars up to 90 minutes, Y amount of dollars for a full day, for example. However, anytime someone doesn't say yes, when you give them that fee schedule, you're in a negotiation. And to me, it's what value can you get if they want to discount the dollar amount in your fee schedule. And as a business owner, I define value myself. It's nobody else's business how we define value. We get to do this for ourselves. And I'm telling you, everybody is doing it this way, even agents and bureaus. So if you undercut my fee, I always tell my clients to say these exact words. If I could do that, pause. What else of value could you offer me to make this commensurate with what my other clients pay me? Now, what this does, I think, is it positions you in a really positive and professional way in front of the buyer. Because you're saying, look, this is my value in this intellectual property market that we're in. And you're offering me less than what I consider my value to be. So I need you to fill the gap in some way. Now, I want you to have some idea of what is value to you. So, for example, would a great video from the event be value to you? It would be for most mere mortals, let me say these days. Would introductions on your behalf after the event make sense? Would bringing you back within the next 12 months at your regular fee be a good idea? Would buying a course that I have created for all of your employees to take after the event, would that make sense for you? So what would be some good value that you can get? A LinkedIn recommendation, a video testimonial, all of these things. I tell my clients, literally have a list in front of you. So when this comes up, and it will, you're ready. However, always wait when you say, what else of value would you be able to offer me? Wait to see what they have to say. Because there have been occasions for my clients and for me that it's been much more than I was ever going to ask for. So that's the way I define fee integrity. Fee integrity is a dollar amount versus value to bridge the gap to equal your fee.
Let's do a quick recap then, based on their expert advice, and put a bow at least on this fee discussion. There are so many brilliant reminders from everyone, but let me add a way to consider them all from a mathematical perspective. Most people, if they thought of this from a mathematical equation, would think of it where X equals your fee. However, if you were to look at it just a little differently based on some of the advice today, then X could equal that fee. But what if you assign more values to the equation? Maybe a great video taken would be V, or time away from family could be subtracting T. Referrals from the client could be R, to the power of how many referrals you get. Maybe you divide by A, and those are the fees charged to associations that are often half of the corporate market. Making your fee commissionable might be C. Back-end programs could be adding B. You see where this is going. I'm not trying to convince you that your fee should be more or less, but rather that you understand the value of each variable in the equation. After all, you get to create your own equation, one that works for you and reflects your own business model. But doing so can allow you to have a more consistent and congruent conversation and negotiation with a buyer rather than just chasing what comes after the equal sign. As the marketplace, offerings, and technology change, the variables sometimes change as well. You just have to do the math. And as several of our guests reminded us, make sure to demonstrate personal integrity when keeping in mind your fee integrity. Friends, make sure to go to Speakernomics.com and let your voice be heard. I'm Kenneth Sharp-Kinney, your host of the National Speakers Association's podcast Speakernomics, and this has been another fee-tastic episode of the show. Thank you for the privilege of your time, and remember, Speakernomics is a podcast where you'll learn to speak, get paid, repeat.
Thank you for listening to Speakernomics, the official podcast of the National Speakers Association. Interested in taking your speaking career to the next level? If you'd like more information on becoming a member of the National Speakers Association, just click the link in the description below. And don't miss your chance to attend NSA's Thrive Conference in New Orleans this February 2026. It's the ultimate event to gain exclusive insights and practical skills from top industry leaders. That link is in the description too. We'll see you there.